Hello and welcome to Mama's Talk Relationships. My name is Lisa Miller,
And I'm Alessandra Martinet.
and today we are going to talk all about Alessandra's divorce journey, how she got here, what her story is, and just kind of really let you guys in on the juicy details so you guys can have a better understanding of who we are. Are you ready to get started?
I'm so ready.
Okay, let's start. Why don't you just start with an overview of your story?
Okay, I think for this podcast, I am going to keep it kind of high level because it is quite a story, but I have really moved on from what's happened, and I have a very, very good relationship with my ex-husband. But I want everyone to know that didn't happen overnight. I have been divorced almost actually 6 years now. And what happened was back in 2015, I started to notice some changes in the marriage and how things were just shifting little by little. And I swept it under the rug and thought to myself, oh, this can't be true. This can't be happening. So the signs were there, but I chose to ignore them. So fast forward to the summer of 2016, and my ex-husband came home and told me that he wanted a divorce, that there was someone else in his life, and he was choosing to live his life with them. And I was completely and utterly devastated.
Oh, so hard.
It was absolutely awful. I was heartbroken,
Yeah,
and
of
he was
course.
heartbroken too. It wasn't just like, you know, go fuck yourself. In all fairness, he was devastated as well,
Yeah, I mean,
because
the family was getting blown up.
yeah. Um, the funny thing is, I automatically knew who the person was. It's just so crazy how when you have an intuition,
Mhm.
you just know.
Trust
Um,
your gut.
Trust your gut, 100%. So it was really a really horrible time in all of our lives. And stress does so much for your body. I lost like 20 pounds in a month. I
Oh,
was eating.
I call that the divorce diet.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I looked hot during my divorce. I shouldn't say that. A lot of people are like, "You do not look good," but I thought I looked great.
I mean, I was like, it was so easy to lose those 20 pounds. And now it's like a struggle to lose 5.
Right? I mean, like, we gotta find the silver lining in it all.
Yeah. So we we did our best to like really protect our kids through this whole time. I was the one that wanted to make it work. I wanted to make it work because I loved my family so much. And my ex-husband was literally like my best friend. So it was a really, really hard time. And we finally did, I finally came to the realization. I came out of the denial and that this was no longer moving forward. So the marriage. So we had to move
Right.
forward with divorce. And so I moved back to Connecticut with my kids, and I served him with divorce. And I have to tell you, the first year or two post divorce was tough because the emotions were really heightened, right? Because of
Mhm.
what has happened. But what always remained at the forefront of our relationship was our kids. We promised our kids that we were always going to be a family in whatever, like they were always going to have their mom and their dad there for them, no
Yeah,
matter what,
I love that so much.
no matter what. So, we would have arguments and fights. And I would tell him, like, listen, dude, look at this face because you're going to see this face till the day you die because we are always going to be parents to those kids.
Yeah,
It's not until high school is done, we're always gonna be there for them.
Mhm.
So someone on my Insta today asked me, like, what would you say your greatest achievement is? And, with the divorce, and I said it was the co-parenting.
Yeah, because it's
'Cause
hard to do,
it was
especially in the beginning,
es
especially in the beginning.
especially in the beginning and
Yeah.
under the circumstances.
Yeah, emotions are high. Heartbreak is hard to maneuver with or without kids, but Jesus Christ, you put the kids in there and then it's like you're trying to heal, you're trying to be a good mom and you're just like you're heartbroken and it's hard to wake up sometimes,
Oh,
And then and
yeah.
then you have to co-parent with the person that broke your heart. Like that is
Well,
one of
and
the
here's the
hardest
thing. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say that's one of the hardest experiences of divorce.
Yeah. And here's the thing, it's not even he broke my heart and all that, it's all the people that surround you that put shit into your head so that you are more angry at that person.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, your circle is super important during divorce, and you lose people during divorce, which is another level of the heartbreak, right? It's first is the your best friend, your husband is no longer your best friend or husband, right? They've decided to move into on a different journey, on a different path without you. So it's
Yeah.
the acceptance of that. And then it's the level of accepting that the life that you thought you were going to have that you dreamed of having isn't happening, right? So now you're also grieving that and heartbroken over that. And then there's the friends that you thought were going to be your forever friend decide to bail. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's so many different levels, and amongst all of that, you still have your kids who need you to support them and love them and, act as if everything's gonna be fine, and it is all gonna be fine, but in the moment, it doesn't feel like it's gonna be fine, and you
No.
have to co-parent with that person that broke your heart. It's like, there's a lot there.
And it's just like you can't even begin to like it's unfathomable to like what we went through. And the thing is like a lot of people tried to make me very angry at him, and sometimes it worked, but then I was in counseling and I couldn't be that angry bitter person. So we did have a given the circumstances a pretty amicable situation.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I know it wasn't easy for him either,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of people would be like, "Oh, fuck him, blah blah blah." Well,
Sure.
you know what? And I think that's how you and I are very similar. We're very empathetic people,
Yeah.
and so I always thought about him as well, and it was just terrible. So that's like my like my cliff notes on my story without I don't wanna disparage him too much because now we have an amazing relationship now.
Yeah, he's the best ex-husband of all
I
time.
I tell him all the time, "You're the GOAT."
Okay, so just some questions. Like my first, as a coach, I'm just super curious. Like, what was your healing journey like? Like, what did you do? How did you get through all that? So
Oh
that I mean, because you're in like such a strong, powerful, badass woman place now, right? So it's like, tell us a little bit about that.
oh, I really, really appreciate that. The first part of my healing journey was I had counseling when I was in Florida, and it was I have my 2 best friends there, and it wasn't healing at that point, it was just keeping Alessandra together
Yeah.
while her world was falling apart. And literally, I would drop my kids off every day at school and I would go to their house because they're sisters. And I would just sit there and cry for hours. And this went on for 3 months at least.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just keeping me together. But I think the part of my healing journey was I come from divorced parents, and my mother was extremely bitter, and she destroyed my relationship with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that my father, and I'm sorry, like I'm all over the place, but one thing my father had said to me was I have your back in all this, which was the silver lining of my divorce. My relationship with my father improved tremendously. But he's like, just promise me one thing. You are never going to speak poorly about your ex-husband, and you are always going to encourage a good relationship.
And you know what? That's amazing advice, right? Because your kids grow up and then they see the truth. At some point, all of our kids see who you really are, and talking badly about the other person will never serve you in the
Yeah.
long run. In the long run, it will never serve you.
So yeah, no, it never will. But going back to my healing, did more therapy when I got to Connecticut, and I really made the conscious decision that I did not want to be bitter. I was like, I want to be better from this, not bitter.
I love that.
So
That's a powerful mindset.
yeah, and so part of my healing journey was me starting Mama's Guide to Divorce, because when I was going through it, I wanted, a place where I would get, like the funny memes, the inspirational, all of that stuff. And that's part of my healing was starting Mama's Guide.
Mhm. I love that.
And I had a blog and I wrote about my whole story. And when I redid my website, I took the blog down because my perception on how everything happened and how I had written all those blogs was very different. And I could sense that I was because remember that I started the blog at the beginning of my journey. And now I was at a place where I was not bitter.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you see it differently.
I see it so differently.
Yeah, and now we have the community, so I think that was, like, at least for me in my own healing journey, probably something that I wish I woulda had is just, like, a community of people either that had gone through it or are going through it that can really relate,
Mhm.
that I think would have really helped collapse time in my own healing, just to have that because it's
Yeah.
from what I and maybe this is you too, like, all of my friends I was one of the first to get divorced, so no one understood what I was going through. So they were there for me, my friends were there for me, my family was there for me, but, like, no one got it, you know?
No one got it. No one did. And for
Yeah,
me, like my life, if you looked at my life before any of this happened, we had a house custom built. My kids went to private school. I was a stay-at-home mom. It was like the legit, like the white picket fence image. That was
yeah,
my life. So when this happened, everyone was so confused. And
yeah,
like, what is going on?
right, yeah, it rocks everyone's world, including your own, and it scares people because 'cause they're like, "If it can happen to her, it can happen to me,"
And
right?
it was like I was so ashamed of it
Mm,
because
yeah,
no one around me was divorced. And that's another reason why I was like, wanted a community for
yeah,
women not to feel ashamed.
not to feel ashamed, not to feel guilty, not to feel alone, like, that's all a part of it, right?
Yeah, but I think the biggest takeaway from this whole thing for me, one of the biggest, the one being putting the kids first, but two, to let go of the bitterness because it will consume your life. And I did not want that for myself at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the anger and the resentment will keep you stuck and
No.
keep you from really healing and moving forward on your life. So like doing the work to let go of that is so important during and after your divorce. I'm curious, what do you do now to stay in a really good mindset and feel good? And because like anything, I mean, any relationship, co-parent, divorce, raising your kids, it's like, there's ebbs and flows, there's seasons,
Yeah.
right? So what do you do now?
Okay. So one thing is like I'm really in touch with my attachment style, and I've really learned that I can be anxious and have some avoidance within me,
Sure.
and I'm really aware of things that trigger me, right?
Mm, so good.
And yeah, so I'm really and I talk to you every day, so that's why that's why I'm somewhat normal. But I'm really aware of that, and I'm really aware of like trying when something happens to take a step back and not go from 0 to 60 because I used to be very reactive.
Uh-huh.
And that's something that I'm working on and I continue to work on.
Right.
And I'm also learning about the fact that a lot of things it doesn't necessarily have to do with me. Like shouldn't take certain things so personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna reframe that for you. It's not a should or shouldn't. It's just, in life, all we can do is control ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's just about looking at it from a different angle of, oh, like that's their own journey. That's where they're coming from, and it actually has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And it's just a remembrance of like, oh yeah, like that's happening again, right? It's less about like I shouldn't do that. That also keeps us stuck, right? That keeps us like
Hmm.
almost paralyzed from like moving forward. So it's again, it's a mindset shift, right?
Totally. That's what I'm working with now. Mindset shifts.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question, which I think is a really important question. Advice for anyone who's going through it right now. What's your top tip?
Well, there's not just one top tip I would give someone, but there's a couple of things. The one big thing is surround yourself with the right people.
Mm,
When I say that, you do not want to surround yourself with people that are going to breed negativity, anxiety, and hatred in you.
yeah,
Okay.
because
That
that'll
is
affect you big time.
It's gonna affect you, it's gonna affect your kids, it's gonna affect your settlement, it's gonna affect your relationship with your ex. It is just so bad. So stay away from all of that. Number 2 is I would always suggest professional help, whether it's with a coach like Lisa Miller, she's freaking amazing, or well, you're welcome. Yeah, or a therapist. I really encourage that. I encourage people to take care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I 100% agree with that.
I'm so big on self-care and carving out time for myself because I used to be like always about my kids and I had to be with them all the time and just so anxious about that, and I have come to realize that I am a good mom, but I need a break to be that good mom.
Oh, preach, girlfriend. I agree with that 100%. Like, so many of my clients come to me and they're like, I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm missing out. I'm like, I promise you, your kids aren't going to remember. What they're going to remember is when you can't show up for them emotionally, right? So, like, if you are so overbooked and putting all your energy into your children and you give nothing back to yourself, you have nothing to give.
Yeah.
They need you to be able to give. And
Yeah,
in
no,
order to do that, go,
yeah. No, in order to do that, you need time for yourself. But I also
yes,
notice I've been with my kids for over 10 days now, and
you're done.
I'm losing my
You're
shit.
done.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
time to go to daddy.
Yeah, you're like, "Bye."
Yeah.
And it's not that you don't love your kids, you love your kids so much. She's an amazing mom, you guys. And I know the same feeling. It's just like we need some time for ourselves to replug, right? Like everything needs to get unplugged sometimes and then we're more energized.
Yeah.
That I love that so much. And I love that like we can be really honest about that because so many moms have so much shame over like, oh, I'm going on a trip by myself. I have all this mom guilt. And that's like,
Oh,
I get it. I get it. But at the same time, you need that for them, right?
yeah.
You can't do it for you.
100%.
If you can't come from the place, if you're not ready to come from the place of I need this for me, do it for your kids, right? Because they want you whole. They want you happy. They don't need you to be a married mom. They need you to be a happy mom. And part of being a happy mom, I get this all the time, but I'm happiest with my kids. I get it. I love my kids to death, right? Like my kids know that. But just like Alessandra just said, like sometimes we need that break and you need to give it to yourself
Oh,
without
yeah.
shame, without guilt.
Yeah. No guilt. You shouldn't
Yeah.
because, and you know what? Here's the thing. They also deserve to have a relationship with their father. Good,
Yeah.
bad, indifferent, no matter what it is, they deserve to have that because I didn't get that. And
I mean,
I
as
have
long as
so much.
they're not getting, like, in any danger. That's
Oh, no, no, of
that.
course not, of course,
Yeah,
but they
yeah,
need to have a relationship with their dad.
yeah, yeah, I
So,
agree. Well, this was awesome. I loved hearing your story. I loved all your advice, all your steps, all your healing journey. This was so, so good. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
well, I want them to listen to our next podcast after this because who are we gonna get on there, Lisa Miller?
We are getting the best ex-husband ever. We are getting Alessandra's ex-husband. We're gonna interview him. So we're super, super excited for it. It's gonna be really juicy. It's gonna be really good. So please join.
Parenting and how he wants to pull his hair out because of me. No, I'm kidding. But
No, it's gonna be good, you guys. So definitely join us for that. If you haven't already, join the community. It's really amazing. Right now, if you listen to this when it comes out, it's just $10 a month. I don't know what it's going to be in the future. So definitely you want to join now.
alrighty, bye everyone.
Bye.